Is it possible to just lose belly fat?
You can't target where you want to lose fat, but eventually you can lose the belly fat.
What does fitness mean to you personally?
Fitness is the ability to do the things that you need to and you want to in your life. A lot of parents find it really hard to play with their kids, to run around with their kids, right? One is the time part of it, the other is the physical ability to actually keep up with your kids. That's certainly important.
Talking about their diet, nutrition, and I have listened to your webinars.
But if we say mindset and habit change program, I'm sure people listening now are tuning out.
No
They're like,
one will
I'm
join.
boring.
Today's episode is special because the New Year is approaching. Mr. Raj Ganpath, co-founder of The Quad, he has more than 15 years of experience in the field of nutrition and fitness and is a specialist in nutrition, strength training, biomechanics, women's fitness, functional training, kettlebell training, core conditioning, in addition to being certified in senior fitness and Olympic lifting. To demystify and simplify nutrition and fitness to make it accessible, approachable, and attainable by everyone.
If you can order something on Swiggy, it'll be here before we're done.
True.
That's how easy it is. That is hunting, gathering, cooking, cleaning, everything put together.
Yeah.
Okay? And we don't have reasons to walk anymore.
Sounds like you're talking about me other than the food because I get everything delivered. What do you think we should be eating? Where should we be eating? How much should we be eating? When should we be eating? And why should we be eating?
And with whom should we be eating? Right?
whom,
You
yes.
missed that.
So we live in a time of unprecedented rise in obesity rates.
We are able to consume more energy today without too much effort. And people say, oh, sweets are not a problem. People have been eating it for years. That's correct. Sweets are not the problem. Overeating sweets are a problem. 3 flights of stairs, you're like, oh my God, will my knees hurt? Will my heart burst? No, you're designed to deal with these things.
And we talked about protein, but sometimes I also think, it's very important to have protein on the plate.
There's protein all around us, but we're still not getting enough protein.
I walk for an hour every day. Isn't that enough?
It's not, but also it depends on.
Health is not expensive. Fast food is much, much cheaper.
Fitness has to become that. Today, if you pay a low amount of money for fitness, you get bad quality service and product. That has to change.
Do crash diets really work?
They work in the short term, they help you crash. But
Will intermittent fasting suit everyone?
Everyone, no, but it does help most people.
The best exercise according to you is,
Saying no to junk food.
are protein powders dangerous? Hello and welcome back to Femiliarise. Let's get the conversation started. Today's episode is special because the New Year is approaching and we are not talking about resolutions, guilt, punishment, or shrinking ourselves. We are talking about strength, simplicity, and systems that actually work. If you have ever wondered why weight loss feels confusing, why you lose motivation after 2 weeks or a month at the most, why strength training matters so much, or how to build habits that stick, this conversation is going to feel like a deep breath of clarity. Joining me today is someone who has changed how thousands and thousands of people think about fitness. Welcome, Raj, and I want to thank you first and foremost for being so gracious enough to accept my invitation. I just sent a DM on Instagram and you said okay, so thank you for that first and
Not
foremost.
at all. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Starting with, what does fitness mean to you personally, and does the definition change according to the person and their lives?
Absolutely. Fitness has a lot of definitions, right? Especially when you think fitness, the first thing we're thinking about is a lean, muscular look, right? The flex, the feats that someone can do, 6-pack abs, size 0, right? All of that. But in reality, if you ask me, what is fitness? Fitness is the ability to do the things that you need to and you want to in your life. Let's dig a little deeper in that, right? Because see, everyone's lives are very different. And we all play multiple roles in our lives. Right? Of course, you're a doctor. But in addition to being a doctor, you have other roles that you play. Right? It could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a friend, right? Could be so many other things, and we all do. And each of these roles come with certain requirements, some responsibilities, some expectations. So in all our lives, we have things that we need to do, absolutely. And then there are things that we want to do. Now, most of us, if you think about it today, and I'm talking about the common person, I'm not talking about an athlete, I'm not talking about a celebrity, we struggle to do the things that we need to do. And why do I say struggle? I mean, we somehow do it, but we struggle. For example, think about a common person who goes to work every day. You wake up in the morning, get your chores done, you leave to work, you have a long day at work, you come back home. By the time in the evening you come back, you're exhausted, right? You're tired, so you're not really fun to be with. Right? So you're probably a little short with people around you. You're probably a little annoyed, a little frustrated, and you're waiting for the day to end. Right? So we somehow get through the day. This is just doing the needs. And then there are things that we really want to do. Maybe you want to play a sport. Maybe you want to dance. Maybe you want to travel a lot. Maybe you want to trek, hike, whatever it is. So fitness is the ability to do the things that we need to and want to. And this involves a lot of things. I'm not talking just about exercise here, right? Energy levels, mindset, how you're eating, how happy you are, right? How active you are. All these things play into fitness. So at the end of the day, what are the things that you need to do in the various roles? Are you able to do those things? What are the things that you want to do? Are you able to do those things? If the answer is a yes and a yes, then you are fit. It doesn't matter whether you have a six-pack abs or not.
Yeah.
Right?
And what your weight is also.
Yeah, yeah.
So, because even for our population, it could be something as simple as wanting to play with your grandkids
Absolutely.
or lift them up without having some pain. It could be anything. So, what you want to do, are you able to do it? And that's what we are aiming to make, what we are aiming for when we talk about fitness.
It's interesting that you mentioned grandkids, right? You know, that used to be true about 10, 15 years ago. Today, it's even kids. A lot of parents find it really hard to play with their kids, to run around with their kids, right? One is the time part of it. The other is the physical ability to actually keep up with your kids. That's certainly important.
True. That's a very important point indeed. And what does fitness mean to you personally?
See, personally, as far as I'm concerned, fitness is about betterment. That's it. Fitness is not about how fast you run or how much weight you lift. Of course, it can be about those things. But at the end of the day, it is about betterment. Are you a better version of yourself? Are you better today than you were last week, last month, last year? Now, this could mean body weight. It could mean strength levels. It could mean how much muscle you have. It could mean health. It could be any of those things. It could be all of those things. For each person, it's different. But there is no comparison. There is no competition here. It is simply about bettering yourself day after day after day.
So, comparing yourself with yourself and looking for progress.
Yes, and when I say progress, I'm talking about the smallest progress. What is the one thing that you can do better tomorrow? Right? And a lot of times we tend to think we have this all or nothing mindset, right? I'm either going to do everything right or I'm going to do nothing right. But here's the reality. Even on your worst day, your absolute worst day, you're doing something right. Okay? You need to build on that. Because as you know, little things add up. Action plus accumulation is amplification. So betterment.
Like compound interest.
Absolutely it is.
So, can you tell us about how the idea for the quad came about and what does functional fitness really mean? I think you were one of the first to introduce the concept of functional fitness beyond gyms, at least in our part of the country.
The quad is 14 years old now, right? We founded the quad back in 2011. I got a chance to really use the engineering basics in medical devices. Okay, this was not biomedical engineering. It was still mechanical engineering, but then you are applying the principles in
Medical device.
medical devices. So I was designing medical devices. I was an R&D engineer. So I was making devices that go into the brain, into the heart, neurovascular, endovascular, all of that. But my health and my fitness was not good in the sense that I was not really a fit kid. When I grew up, I was not a fit kid. I had asthma, right, and I had acute sinusitis. So it was never a question of how hard can you push yourself, and that's how I got into fitness, and it was a game changer for me, right? It improved my health. I lost about 30 kilos, if I'm not wrong. I was quite overweight. I'm not a very tall guy, and outside of that, confidence and just the way you are changes. And it dawned on me that if I can make such a difference in my own life, there are probably so many others who can benefit from this. And that's when I started looking into it. And there were a lot of people. And in India, it was still a time where you were essentially using bodybuilding concepts on normal people. It still happens. So when you go to a gym, for instance, right, and they say, do 3 days of, strength training. And the strength training as in, one day is chest, one day is back, one day is biceps, right? And on the other days, you do 20 minutes of elliptical, 20 minutes of treadmill, 20 minutes of cycle. So all this is a very bodybuilding solution. And that's what was used. And as I was getting into fitness, I was like, I wanted to learn more and more and more. And I was just reading randomly and just collecting knowledge. Then I realized that the best way to actually learn is to get a certification. I had no intentions of working with anyone or changing careers or anything. I was doing very well financially and career wise in medical devices. But when I started studying for this certification, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not a great student, right? I can be street smart and all that, but I'm not a great student. I never was. So, certification, sitting and studying, especially after you're done with college and you worked for a few years. But I really got into it and I wrote the certification and I aced it. And I was like, what is going on? This is not me. And that's when I realized, they keep saying there is a calling, right? Never got that, but I did, right? Because with fitness, I was actually able to see things. I don't know how to explain it. With everything else you're trying to understand, with this, I was able to see things. Things were just coming together, they were fitting in. And at that point, it was clear to me, got to do something, right? Because this has the potential to change so many people's lives. Okay. And that was the only goal. How can I create impact? How can I improve the lives of people around me? And that's when I started working with people on fitness remotely while I was still there. And as I started working with people, results were wonderful. People are like, what is this magic, that, this? And I'm like, there's obviously no magic. It's just the basics, right? And I realized that people are not skipping the basics and trying to do things just for the sake of it. And that's when I came up with a structure. In fact, I should tell you this. You're a part of the slow burn method, right? The nutrition plan, the strategic nutrition plan that we share right now, right? Where you give you a list of, it's not a diet plan. It doesn't tell you how many almonds to eat at what time. It's very flexible. And you can essentially create your own plan with that, right? And it is very effective. And I mean, I shouldn't tell you, you know how it is. This is something I came up with in 2010.
Okay.
Okay.
Right in the beginning.
Right in the beginning, because it seemed so logical. Obviously, it's evolved since then. But when I used that, I mean, people were able to really feel it. And around that time is when I met Arvind Ashok, who's my co-founder at the Quad. So he was going through his own journey and he also wanted to do something along, the lines of fitness, and our visions matched. And we said, hey, how about we do this together? And that's when we started working on the Quad, conceptualizing the Quad, came up with what exactly is the Quad. So there were things like gyms, CrossFit, so many different things. But then we were trying to understand what is right for the Indian audience.
Common person.
Yeah, common
Probably.
person, everyday person. Because where we are today or where we were back in 2010, 11 was very different from where people in other countries were. Right? Because, see, if you think about it, even in schools, we have PT, physical training, right? That period when everyone goes and eats or does their homework, okay? As opposed to PE, which is physical education. Right? We don't have that. And it's not common for people in India to go to the gym. It was just the men even then, right? So we wanted to come up with something that is more along the lines of betterment. Right? Like, how can the everyday person improve their fitness for everyday life? So that's where GPP comes in. GPP stands for General Physical Preparedness. Right? And the quad essentially stands for a quadrilateral and 4 sides. Each side is strength, speed, endurance, and mobility, 4 sides of it. And you need a balance of strength, speed, and endurance and mobility to create a quadrilateral, right? Or any structure that will be stable. For instance, if you have a lot of strength, a lot of endurance, and no mobility, you are opening yourself to injury. So that's how the concept of the quad came about.
Okay, that was going to be my. I also wanted to know how you came up with what does quad actually mean. So that's a nice idea.
Yeah. In fact, the first name we came up for the company was the adrenaline. Okay, because we were 25. And that's what,
Full of
we were,
adrenaline.
exactly.
Yes.
But then we realized most people won't even be able to say it properly, right? So we have to come up with something that's a little better.
What is adrenaline? Is it good or bad?
Yes.
Then yeah, this is a much better choice, I guess.
So quad was, again, strength, speed, endurance, and mobility, right? It is meant to lay the foundation of your fitness. You don't have to train like a bodybuilder because you are not a bodybuilder. You have to train the basics and you have to train different aspects. So you are able to do the things that you need to and want to in your life. So then we moved to India and we were looking around to see what other things are there, right? What is the fitness scene here at that point of time? And nothing like this existed. And you're using the word functional fitness, right? So it's a very commonly used term. But what we are essentially going for, see, functional fitness can be defined in different ways. In a lot of circles, functional fitness is about getting back to functionality. So if you're broken, if you have injuries and stuff like that. But in our case, we wanted to do things that will help you look, feel, and function better. Right? It always comes down to the 3 things: look, feel, and function. If you ask anyone, they say, I want to tone up, I want to lose weight, I want to get stronger. But in reality, what you want is you want to look better, you want to feel better, you want to function better. That's what it is. And look always comes first because, we are visual animals. People see us based on, how we look, right? You're expected to look a certain way. So everyone cares about looks and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You shouldn't be obsessed with it, of course, but we all like to look good. If not, why are you combing your hair? Why are you buying new clothes? Why do you wear makeup, right? This is the same thing. So it's not that weight loss is bad, right? It's not that wanting to look good. Aesthetics is not how do I put this?
Sin.
It's not, yeah.
Yeah,
It is a goal, right? I mean, you shouldn't judge anyone until goals. But the truth is, you want to look better, and that matters because you are trying to satisfy other people. Okay, validation. You want people to say, hey, you're looking nice, you're looking young, you're looking fit. You want those things, and that's okay. We crave for that. But the feel part, the moment you understand that this is helping you feel better, no one else can see it, but you know it, you feel it, and so you want more of it, right? And the function is where we're talking about needs and wants and all that, right? Is training making you better at whatever it is that you do outside the gym? Or does it just make you stronger in the gym? Because the point of training at the quad is to make you do things better outside the quad. Okay? Because as a general rule, we believe fitness makes you better at whatever it is that you do. Okay? As a doctor, if you're 20% fitter, you will do your job better. Right? As an accountant, yes. As an engineer, yes. As a celebrity, yes. As a boxer,
it
yes.
has powers to boost your cognition, your brain blood flow, everything. So it's not only the physical benefits,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And we are able to see this and understand this from an athlete's perspective, right? Like when an athlete becomes fitter, we are able to understand that they are able to do their job better. Their job is to play that sport or run or whatever it is. Similarly, for us, we have certain requirements. We want to look like professional athletes, but we want to eat like competitive eaters. Right? That's just how we are. But in reality, you're a professional doctor. And whatever it is that you're doing should help you do this better. So look, feel, function. That's what we built this whole thing about. And now, 14 years in, and having worked with thousands of people, we can confidently say that there is not a single person who would walk into a quad class and then feel like I should not have come.
Okay.
Right? You may have so many demons in your head, so many questions before, but our only thing is just show up. Okay? Just show up and everything else will be taken care of because there's a wonderful community of people. The coaches truly care. It's not about, so we don't have cheerleaders. What I mean by that is our coaches are not people who will just say, yes, you can do this and try to push you and try to burn more calories. That's not the point. We understand that each person is coming in with a lot going on. Right? Let's say you have 4 surgeries in a day or 3 surgeries in a day, and I just whack you in the morning by giving you a crazy endurance workout. That doesn't make sense. Training has to energize you, right? It should help you do things better outside. So that was the crux of the quad. And that's how we built the whole thing, and we are continuing to build it.
Excellent. And even as we already said, you have the slow burn method, which is a how many weeks program is it?
It's a 6-month program.
6-month program. Yeah. So nothing fast, no fast tracking results, but you want it to sustain for life, and you sort of go about it talking about their diet, nutrition, and I have listened to your webinars. I have read your books, so I know that you would like to keep it simple, straight, and doable.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question about slow burn method, it is slow for a purpose, right? For a reason, we have the word slow. So while at the quad, the focus was on movement, fitness. Slow burn method, this is, the other company. Slow burn method is a nutrition first company, right? The focus here with slow burn method is to change the way we approach food and fix our lifestyle. And I told you this just before we started, right? We call it a weight loss program, but we're lying, right? It is a mindset and habit change program. But if we say mindset and habit change program, I'm sure people listening now are tuning out. They're
like, join.
Boring, right? So you come for the weight loss. Yes, that's fine. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. But the mindset change, that's what I'm trying to work on. Because at the end of the day, if you think about weight loss, if you think about fitness, there are 3 aspects to it. There is the what, there is the how, and there is the why. Most people are obsessing on the what. If you see any Instagram, fitness influencer or whatever, they're talking about what you should eat, what you should not eat, fear-mongering, yes. Right? Going into details of it, eat this food for this food. It's just confusing. And that's why people are feeling overwhelmed. But in reality, everyone knows the what. Are you seriously telling me people don't know they should eat more vegetables and eat less junk? I mean, do people don't know they have to exercise, they have to sleep more, they have to walk more? The what is clear. It is simple, especially in today's, AI dominated age. It's so easy. You just go to ChatGPT and say, hey, what are the,
Things,
eight
yeah.
things I should do to, improve my health? You'll get it. But here's the problem. You know what to do. You're just not able to do it. Okay. And why you're not able to do it? If you think about it, the way life is today, it is very convenient. Okay. We're talking right now. If you can order something on Swiggy, it'll be here before we're done. That's how easy it is. That is hunting, gathering, cooking, cleaning, everything put together. Okay. And we don't have reasons to walk anymore. Everything is home delivered. Groceries, electronics, jewelry, right? I mean, supplements, food, entertainment, fitness.
Sounds like you're talking about me other than the food because I get everything, delivered.
That's not just you, that's just everyone, right? So we live in an age of convenience and abundance. Don't get me wrong, it's an amazing time to be alive. Okay? It's great. This is what we wanted and we've achieved it. But now, the flip side of it, the body is not ready. In other words, and I like to say it this way, right? Your body is stuck in the past. Your brain is in the future.
Stone Age genes in the space age era is
Yes.
what we are living with.
Absolutely. See, what I mean by saying your body is stuck in the past is your body still needs movement. It still needs discomfort. It still needs restriction. But your brain is in the future. You're thinking, Blinkit said 10 minutes, but it took 13 minutes. That's not okay. How can I make it 5 minutes, right? So we want to make things faster and faster. So with slow burn method, the idea is to really slow things down. Because at the crux of everything, if you think about it, the crux of everything, there is greed. Okay? How quickly can I lose weight? How much weight can I lose? And social media feeds into this. 10 kilos in 3 months. Most people think that is the norm. But in reality, that is an outlier. Why do we think it's the norm? Because every coach, every company showcases the 10 kilos in 3 months. So you naturally tend to believe that that's how it is. So that's how it should be for me also. So the point of slow burn method is to help you understand that rate of progress or your progress is directly proportional to your efforts. Right? And what is effort and how do you do it? And the way we've structured it is different than the usual. It's not a one-on-one consult, as you know, it's a group program. And there's a very specific reason for it. The way we are today is we're like a pole standing, in the middle of, I don't know, say a ground or whatever. There is a pull on this side, there is a pull on that side. On this side, you have people like me telling you, hey, you shouldn't be eating junk. You should go to bed early. You should eat vegetables and protein. And on the other side, you have a million other people and brands which have put in thousands of crores constantly advertising, pulling you towards the other side. Right? At 4 o'clock, you get a nudge from Zomato saying it's a perfect time to have samosa. How can you resist that? Temptations are getting harder. In fact, if you think about something like IPL,
Yes.
it's phenomenal. It's a festival, okay, for 2 months. I love the IPL, but I always want to do this experiment, right? If you weighed everyone in India before the start of IPL and at the end of IPL, the collective weight of India would go up, right? Because you're sitting in front of the TV more. There's more junk food being ordered, more offers available. So the pull towards one side is so high. So you need an infrastructure to stay in shape. And the point of slow burn method is not weight loss, but long-term weight management. I think this is where most people miss it, right? They are always thinking, how can I lose weight? But in reality, you, me, everyone here, we have to manage our weight for the rest of our lives, one way or the other. Even the person who has 6% body fat is working hard in managing their weight. Okay? So how do we think about weight management? So for weight management to happen, you need the what, you need the how, and most importantly, you need the why. Most people don't know why they're doing what they're doing. It's a lot of effort, so much money, so much time, so much discomfort. Why would you put in so much effort if you're not clear about why you're doing it? Right? So slow burn method, we try to make you understand why you should do what you should do. And this reason is different for each person. Right? For some people, it might be, hey, you know what? I have been fat shamed all my life. I don't want to be that anymore. And that's an absolutely good reason. For someone else, it might be, you know what, I want to be healthy for my grandchildren. That's great. For someone else, it could be, I want to join the military. Great. One goal is not better than the other. Don't judge your own goals, but you need to know why you're doing it. And the infrastructure necessary, you need coaches, yes. You need a plan, yes, but that's not enough. You need motivation. You need a community. And most importantly, most importantly, you need understanding and kindness. Okay, especially with women, it's not easy. The amount of trauma they're going through, especially because of judgments being passed, comments being passed, and obviously self-doubt and hormonal changes, all of that. At this point of time, you want someone to understand what you're going through, be kind to you, help you be kind to yourself, because at the end of the day, this is a game of consistency. It's not a game of intensity. The longer you play the game, the more it will compound, like compound interest that you mentioned. So that is the goal with slow burn method, and that is what we are building. And what we are seeing is switches being flipped in the head. And a lot of people are trying to take control of their lifestyle. They're trying to walk more, eat more, sleep more, and more importantly, they're able to do all of this while feeling good about themselves, right? Because if you think about weight loss, it's a very pressurizing negative journey. Every time you stand on the scale, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Anxiety, right? I want to flip that. I want to make things positive. I want you to enjoy the process of weight management, not be like, when is this going to end? I want it to feel like this is wonderful. I feel great about myself. I am making progress every day. Again, going back to betterment.
True. And you have seen it happening with a number of your clients. So yes, I'm sure it must give you immense satisfaction too, because you have found your passion and your purpose.
Definitely.
So we live in a time of unprecedented rise in obesity rates. We see a tsunami of NCDs nowadays, non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemias, heart attacks, heart disease, everything in the young. It is no more a disease of old age as in 50s or 60s even. It is very much in 30s and even late 20s when we screen people, even when they come for fertility, they're going to be parents, and we are picking up so many NCDs in this age group. So let's start with the why. Why, not your why, the purpose you're doing the whole thing, but why are we seeing this rise in obesity in today's time? And to start with, energy intake, calories in and calories out. Is it the law or is it oversimplification? Because I've heard arguments for both sides. So, what is your take on that?
See, firstly, you said, right? I mean, understanding the causes is a little boring. I beg to differ. Right?
Okay.
I feel as a general rule, diagnosis is the most interesting part. Once you know what is wrong, then treatment is simple. We know the answers. We just don't know. I mean, most of us don't understand the question, and we're still looking for answers, right? So I think this is the more important part. So you said NCDs, right? And you're talking about obesity. The reason for all of this is the same. Okay? Like I said, we live in an age of convenience and abundance. To open that up a little more, convenience essentially means we are moving less. Okay? We're talking about calories in, calories out. So let's talk about that. See, calories in, calories out is a thermodynamic equation. We associate calories with food, but calories is a unit of energy here. Okay, so energy in, energy out is what we are talking about. And this is not a law, a thermodynamics law that applies only to humans. It applies to every living being, one way or the other. Okay, you take any animal, the law of thermodynamics applies. That is, if energy goes in, it has to be converted into something. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred from one form to another. Right? So when we talk about convenience, what do we mean? We're saying that life is more convenient, meaning I don't have to exert myself too much. Less discomfort. Now, you go back 50 years or 60 years, the conveniences that we have today did not exist back then. We had to walk a lot more. We had to squat. We didn't have the option of sitting so much. We didn't have lovely, cushy, swiveling chairs like this before, right? So naturally, life included discomfort. There was less convenience, more discomfort. And when there is discomfort, when there is movement, energy goes out of the body because you have to use the energy that you have to do work. Okay? So the amount of energy that was going out was much higher than it is today. And that's also why a lot of people got away without doing any exercise because life was exercise, life was movement. And if you don't understand this fully, you can think about, let's go back 500 years. Let's go back 5,000 years, right? You can understand how when there was no convenience at all, how hard it was. Like getting water was hard, getting food was hard. Procuring food, cooking food, and eating food consumed so much energy. It took so much energy. Today, like I said, it requires 3 clicks.
True. Only your fingertips.
Yeah. So the amount of energy flowing out of our bodies has reduced. That's one side of it. On the other side, the amount of energy that goes into the body. We live in an age of abundance. Now, think about the sweets. Right? People say, oh, sweets are not a problem. People have been eating it for years. That's correct. Sweets are not the problem. Overeating sweets are a problem. Back in the day, about 50 years ago, 100 years ago, you would overeat sweets, but you would do it 2 times a year. 2 or 3 times a year when there was festival, because someone had to actually make it. Right? Today, you can get, I don't know, a kesari along with breakfast at Sangeeta. It is not a festive food anymore. You can get sweets, junk food, savories, all the amazing things whenever you want.
Everything is available everywhere, and food is hunting us. We are not hunting food,
Yes,
I will say.
and you're right? Because we don't have the ability to say no. How do I know that? Because if we had the ability to say no, we would not be in this place yet. It's very, very hard. If people just keep saying that, no, you're lazy, you're not exercising, you're eating too much, that's why it's happening. But that's not what it is. If you think about, take someone who's gained 10, 15 kilos. When you see someone who's overweight, who's visibly overweight, the first thing most people think about is, oh, this person should be a big eater, right? Okay, let me tell you something. Most people who are overweight are not really big eaters. Okay? So you have this image of someone sitting and eating 2 biryanis in one sitting or 3 pizzas. No one does that anymore, right? People are smart enough to know that gluttony is not the way to go about it. The reason you gain those 10, 15 kilos is because of mild but consistent overeating. Mild, just a little more than usual, right? Grazing food. Your kid's plate is not completed, so you want to finish that. Someone asked you to eat a sweet. You met a friend. You went for coffee. They offered you a brownie. You eat This is how it all adds up. Yeah? So at the end of the day, when you look at calories in, calories out, you simply want to think about it as energy in, energy out. Energy in has increased for everyone in the world. Energy out has decreased for everyone in the world. And as a result, overall in the world, body weight has gone up, NCDs have gone up, right? All the issues that we're talking about have gone up. So it is not a simplification, it is true. But we have to address the nuances also. Now, there are a lot of people who say, hey, you know what, I hardly eat, but I still gain weight. Okay? Yeah, but that's what we want to remember, right? See, we tend to remember discomfort more than we remember pleasure. Okay? 10 kilometers I ran, I will remember it for 2 months.
I did this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it was hard, right? See, again, things, we bond more when we go through hardship together, okay? Because as humans, we tend to remember hardship more because it's more important for us. From an evolutionary perspective, we learn more from it.
To let us know what should we be doing and what we are doing wrong in day-to-day life, maybe you can tell us, I really believe there's an art of eating, and we all need to learn that in today's overfed and malnourished world. So what do you think we should be eating? Where should we be eating? How much should we be eating? When should we be eating? And why should we be eating?
And with whom should we be eating?
With whom,
right?
yes.
You missed that. No, I mean, it's a very good question, okay? See, I think there are specifics, of course, but I think there are more generalized principles that we need to understand first. And let's use the same lens that you used, right? Calories in, calories out. So let's talk about, or energy in, energy out. Let's talk about energy in first. When you are consuming food, let's go to the very basic point. Why do you eat? Obviously, it's tasty. That's why we eat. But why did evolution make food taste good? There is a reason, right? Because if food doesn't taste good, we are not going to be motivated to go and find food and eat it. You want to think about the point of eating food is to consume 2 things, energy and nutrients. Okay? One is at the basic level, if you look at someone who's starving, okay, a child who's starving, the first thing that child needs is energy. Okay? So once you get energy, you need nutrients. And nutrients, there are macronutrients and micronutrients. So the point of consuming food is to make sure we have enough energy and enough nutrients. Today, the problem is we are consuming too much energy and too little nutrients. That's the problem. We have to flip that around. So the general goal for everyone is how can I maximize nutrient consumption while optimizing energy consumption, not minimizing.
So nutrient dense, energy less, right?
Yes,
So not
right?
energy dense.
Yes. So you don't want calorie dense foods, right? You want foods that are sparse in energy, but at the same time you want foods that are dense in nutrients. For example, why do we keep saying eat more vegetables? Vegetables are low in calories, high in nutrients. Okay? Similarly, why you ask not to have, I don't know, say brownies and ice creams and cornflakes, right? Because high in energy, dense but low in nutrients. So as a general rule, you want to keep looking for and you want to eat foods that are high in nutrients and low in energy. How do you work this out? Now, while theory is solid, practice may not be, right? So the transition between theory and practice is important. So let's talk about this more practically. Now, practically speaking, what should you eat? What should you not eat? Now, obviously, there are different people who eat different kinds of food. There's non-vegetarian, vegetarians, people who eat Indian food, and even in India, so many different kinds of food. Let's break it down. Every meal should contain three things: protein, vegetables, and starch. Just envision this on your plate. You have one chunk, say 33% of your plate has protein, some form of protein. Okay, this is important. And then another third of your plate is vegetables, another third of your plate is starch. Today, about 70 to 80% of what we eat is starch, usually. Right? So we have to basically change the proportions, that's all. You can continue eating whatever it is that you're eating. And whether you eat, I don't know, potato fry or aloo posto or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The specifics don't matter. But as a general rule, the balance is one third of protein, one third of vegetables, one third of starch. Now, what is protein here? It can be any lean protein. Okay, and why am I saying lean protein? Doesn't mean fat is bad for you. Fat is just dense in energy. Because 1 gram of fat contains 9 calories, but 1 gram of protein and 1 gram of carbs contain 4 calories. Right? So you want to keep fat on the down low in general, not because it's bad for you, because it's easy to overconsume energy when you eat too much fat. Okay? So your protein can be meat, it can be eggs, it can be seafood if you eat those things. If you don't eat those things, it can be cheese, includes paneer. It can be tofu, it can be tempeh, soya chunks. If you have none of that, it can be Greek yogurt, it can be just curd, it can be milk, it can be lentils. I'm basically, working my way down the list, right? Because you want to look for foods that are more potent in protein. Now, a lot of people think that, lentils are a protein source, right? Lentils contain protein, yes, but they're not fully protein. 20% of calories come from protein. The other 80% come from mostly starch, carbs, and a little bit of fat. So you want to make sure there is some form of protein. Now, let's say you're someone whose lunch is just rasam rice with potato fry and appalam. Let's say that's your typical, and then you have curd rice with pickle. You don't have to go from that to eating salads every day. Remember, betterment. How can you do a little better every day, right? So you have rasam rice and you have potato, okay? Reduce the rasam rice a little bit. Flip the potato and maybe have a different vegetable, maybe a green vegetable. You have, let's say, 3 appalams with it. Make it 1 or make it 2. That's good enough. Right? And then instead of having curd rice with pickle, maybe just have curd with pickle. Right? You have to make some changes. You can't say I won't change anything, but at the same time, no drastic changes.
And we talked about protein, but sometimes I also think, see, it's very important to have protein on the plate. But now we have protein, we are talking about protein till it's coming out of our ears, nose and eyes, I should say. So there is so much of hype adding protein to everything. It's going to ridiculous levels somehow and again, it's all in these packaged foods. And do we really need all this to include protein? So it is being misused a lot also in today's times, and marketing plays a huge role there. So how much does a person actually need?
So there's protein all around us, but we're still not getting enough protein. Right? So, but to answer your question, how much protein do we really need? We need at least 0.8 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. Now, this is the amount of protein we need to avoid deficiency. It's the bare minimum. Okay? So we want to get at least 1 gram of protein per kilo of body weight. So someone who weighs about 80 kilos, you want to get 80 grams of protein in a day. Okay? But ideally, we want to be closer to 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. Now, from a fitness perspective, from a strength perspective, from a health perspective, what we've seen with researchers, at about 1.5 grams, the benefits of consuming enough protein peaks. You can have a little more, but it's not dangerous if you have more. It's just not going to be proportional. Okay? But if you're talking about building muscle, getting stronger, truly, improving your performance, you're looking at roughly 1 gram per pound. So which is about 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. Right? So between 1 gram and 2 grams is a good range to be. If you're someone who's only worried about health, I just want general health, then make sure you're getting 1 gram of protein. If you're someone who's looking for weight loss, general fitness, definitely be at that 1.5 grams, especially weight loss, because if you're not getting enough protein and if you're not strength training, you will lose a lot of muscle when you're trying to lose weight, and you don't want to do that. If you're someone who's actively building muscle, actively getting stronger, right, very heavily into sport and stuff like that, try to get between 1.5 and 2 grams of protein per kilo. Okay? But unfortunately, we are not getting that. I'd say the average right now is anywhere from 40 to 60 grams per person. There are people who have much lesser than that. And that's because of how we eat. If you look at the ICMR study that recently came out, right, it says about 65 to 68% of what we eat is just carbs. We get 10% of our calories from protein, and which is not enough at all. So what you're seeing in the market, protein being a part of everything, that is just economics in the sense that you see a gap and someone's going to create a product. Okay? Like what I mean by that is, let's say for in an alternate universe, let's say we're all eating too much protein and we're not eating enough carbs. Then you would see a lot of products with carbs. Okay? And so they're trying to inject protein in everything. There's protein water, protein brownies, right? Protein in everything. There's even a protein vodka. Like, I don't have to eat protein when I'm getting drunk. You know what I mean? See, as a general rule, I feel if we do the basics right, we don't need these hacks. And these are nothing more than hacks, don't get me wrong. Like we spoke about protein powder, right? Or protein bars, on the other hand. Protein bars are basically candy bars with some protein added to it. That's
All of them?
literally it. Pretty much all
Most
of
of
them.
them?
There is, if I'm not wrong, there's just one. So let's look at it as a percentage of protein that you get, right?
For calorie,
For
calories,
right?
yeah.
Percentage of protein. So if you take, let's say, a good protein powder, okay, it's a protein supplement. A good protein powder supplement will have over 80% of calories from protein. That means if you have 1 scoop of protein, that 1 scoop of protein powder will have about 25 grams of protein. Okay, so 25 grams of protein adds up to 100 calories. Now, the total number of calories in that 1 scoop will be about 125. So 100 out of the 125 calories come from protein. If you look at a protein bar will have about 200, 250 calories. And you will have about 10 grams of protein in that, 10 to 15 grams. What is 10 to 15 grams of protein? 40 to 60 calories. So if only 40 to 60 out of the 250 calories are from protein. Where are the rest of the calories coming from? Whatever else is there. It could be sugar, it could be maltodextrin, it could be fillers, it could be whatever it is, right? But at the end of this, it's the same thing with protein brownies or protein ice cream also. So when we say protein ice cream, in our heads we are thinking this ice cream is fully protein, but it's not. It's not. So at the end of the day, if you can include protein, vegetables, and starch, what I said before, you will not need to go this route. You can still have a protein powder as your protein option for a meal, but you don't want to try and include it from, like a protein ribbon pakoda, or protein this, or protein that.
Okay, I'm sure there are things like that also, or they may come out soon, I'm sure.
There are,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Protein ribbon vakoda, really?
Yes.
Okay.
There are protein chips.
Okay, wow. So, in a country like ours, there are a lot of vegetarians, and you already said pulses, legumes, which are primarily considered the protein sources for a vegetarian diet, are also mostly starch and not really good quality protein as such. So, do you think that vegetarians can meet their their protein requirements from food?
You can. It just requires a lot of planning, right? But just to clarify, vegetarian foods don't contain as much protein. Quality of protein is something that we shouldn't even worry about at this point, okay? See, because the first thing that's important is you get sufficient protein. Then you can talk about quality of protein, amino acids, all of that later. Right now, we're not even getting the basic total amount of protein. So that should be our first goal, making sure we get enough protein. Okay? But we have to get this enough protein without a huge calorie load. Okay? Now, if you take lentils, like I said, 1 cup of cooked lentils will contain about 220-ish calories, something like that. Okay? Now, based on what this lentil is, you will have anywhere from 12 to 18 grams of protein there. Okay? On an average, let's say 15. Okay? Now, 15 grams adds up to 60 calories. So 60 calories out of the 220 calories is from protein. So about 25% is from protein, the other 75% is from starch. So as a vegetarian, if you're thinking I can just have more of this, you're actually consuming 3x, 4x more starch than you are of protein. It's possible, but you have to really plan your meals. Because if you think about it, see, the very basic, vegetarians are people who don't eat animal-based products. Okay, so you basically eat plant-based products. Plants don't contain too much protein as a general rule. Why? Because plants don't have muscles. Why? Because plants don't have to move. You need muscles to move. What are the other things on the planet that move? Animals. And they have muscles. And muscles are made out of amino acids and protein. That's why animal products contain more protein than vegetarian products. So when you're a vegetarian, you've made a conscious choice to not eat animal-based products. Now, this could be religious, it could be moral, it could be taste, whatever it is, but you've drawn that line. So these are the foods that are available to you. And in all these foods, the protein percentage will be low. So if you want to get your protein only from food sources, you have to be extremely planned. You have to eat things like tofu, tempeh, soya chunks, high protein or low fat paneer. Now, most vegetarians don't like eating these things. It's not really, it's not like eating my sambar sadam. You know what I mean? It's different. And in fact, there's this meme, right? Half of the world's problems would be solved if rice was full of protein, right? Of course. That's what we are all hoping. But as a vegetarian, it's very hard to do that. So the smarter way to go about it for a vegetarian is to supplement with a good protein powder. And this is confusing for some people. Right? They're like, oh, it comes in a box, it's a powder. For the longest time, they said,
Process, it's steroids.
yeah, it's steroids, right? I mean,
Probably,
for the
yeah.
longest time. But again, also the advertising has to be blamed for that. If you look at protein powders, not, up until about 10 years ago, it will have this big muscular guy,
Yeah,
not even a
only
girl, right?
gym bros,
Yeah,
yes.
only gym bros kind of stuff. So naturally you're thinking, if I take this, will I become like that? And funnily, the people who are afraid are also thinking that way. The people who want to become like that also are like,
Also
I'll
think.
become like that, right? But here's the thing. We want to remember that supplementation is not a bad thing. If you need it, you should do it. And only if you need it, should you do it. Similarly, when you're talking about processing food, it's not a blanket recommendation that it's bad. We process food for good and for bad. Now, if you think about it, there is a reason we process food. We process food for taste. We process food for functionality. Now, if you take something like a ribbon pakoda, it is processed for taste. Okay, it is made a certain way so it tastes so good. That's the whole point of it. The point of a ribbon pakoda is not to make you healthy. It is to make you happy, right? So use it for that. But if you look at a protein supplement, the point is not taste. It is being processed so it is more bioavailable in your body. When you eat it, when you drink it, you want it to get absorbed quickly. Now, when you think about supplements and processing, I like to use vitamin D as an example. Right? Everyone is deficient in vitamin D today. You can just pull a random person off the street and they'll be deficient. Why? Because we don't get enough sunlight. That's the only way for us to get it. So, as a doctor, you can recommend that, hey, you know what, from tomorrow, I want you to get 1.5 hours of sunlight at this time. How sustainable is that? It's possible, theoretically possible, to get enough vitamin D just by being in the sun. But how many people are actually going to spend time? You're not going to. So what do? You're going to say, take the supplements. 60,000 IUs, once a week, do it for 6 weeks, then go to a maintenance dose. And that is the smarter way to go about it. But if you go and have 5 medicines, five pills instead of 1, that's not on me. You have to obviously watch the dosage, right? But at the end of the day, if you use the supplement right, it is a smart solution. So for a vegetarian, is it possible to get their vegetarian needs from real food sources? It is. Just like it is possible to get vitamin D from sun. Is it practical? For most people, it's not. For some people, it is. And there'll always be this one person who argues saying, hey, you know what? I can do all this and get it. Sure, you can do it. But most people don't have the mental or physical bandwidth, right? To make their meals that way. It is much easier for you to eat sambar sadam with some vegetable and 1 scoop of protein in water. That's a smarter solution for you than to say, okay, I have to get protein, so I'm not going to eat white rice. I'm going to replace my white rice with millets or oats. Now I'm eating sambar with oats, and I have to eat a vegetable which has tofu. That's not even a meal, right? Like, it's not practical for most people. So possible.
But difficult, yes, and not practical. And does this apply even for senior citizens?
It does, absolutely. In fact, it even applies for non-vegetarians in India. Because in India, non-vegetarians are essentially vegetarians who eat a little bit of meat. That's it. Okay? Unlike the Western countries where non-vegetarians build their meal around meat, right? So if even the ICMR study says, right, I think the total amount of energy we are getting from animal foods is less than 5%. So in fact, I'm a non-vegetarian. My wife is a vegetarian. Breakfast is the same for us. Lunch is proper South Indian fare, same for us, right? Rice, sambar, poriyal with protein shake, whatever, right? Dinner, she has paneer. I have chicken. That's it. Literally, the difference between a non-vegetarian and a vegetarian on a daily basis is that one thing, that 100 grams or 200 grams difference at night is the only difference. The other difference is when we go to a restaurant, I order meat, she doesn't, right? But otherwise, if you think about it, 95% of our calories are the same. It's just that 5-10% that is different. So this, whatever I said right now, applies to pretty much everyone in India.
So, thank you for that very elaborate discussion about energy intake. And I think the basics are quite clear right now. And the other part of it, which you did start with, is energy expenditure, which we are all lacking in today's modern times, which is designed to make us sit more and more. We are no longer Homo sapiens. I say we are Phono sapiens. Everything is on our phone, and it's being taken over our bodies and brain, I should say. So, what is exercise? Someone says, okay, I go walking I walk for an hour every day. Isn't that enough? Is that enough?
It's not, but also it depends on who the person is, right? See, as a general rule, assuming that this person is not extremely old or extremely weak or extremely sick or broken, there are two things that you want to think about. There's exercise and there's activity. Okay? Exercise is what you do for that hour, right? You know what exercise is. Activity is what you do through the day. Now, if you think about exercise first, exercise is a very smartly packaged way of doing human movements. Back in the day, again, thousands of years ago, we used to walk, run, jump, push, pull, right, crawl. We had to do all these things just to live. The human body needs that. Remember, we spoke about how the body is stuck in the past, but the brain is already in the future, right? So the body still needs those movements, needs that kind of mobility, needs that kind of stimulation. Exercise gives you that. So you take an hour, which is a very smart way if you think about it. Instead of doing it throughout the day, you don't have to crawl all day or climb trees, right? Instead of doing all that, you can do exercise. And during exercise, you stimulate all the big muscles in your body. You work on multiple joints. You work on strength, speed, endurance, mobility, all of that. Now that is exercise. Outside of that, there's something called activity. The body needs regular movements. And today, the only source of activity is walking. So, if you are considering walking as an exercise, it's okay if you are a beginner. But you want to realize that in the long term, exercise and activity are two different things. As a general, we spoke about energy in. If you're talking about energy out, how do you get enough energy out? You don't have to do anything crazy. Now, let's talk about it from exercise and activity. From an activity standpoint, this is where your steps come in. There's this whole 10,000 steps per day kind of thing. Right? There's no magic number. Anything more than what you're walking right now is good. The average city dwelling adult walks about 2,500 to 3,000 steps per day, which is abysmal because it takes about 10 minutes to walk 1,000 steps. So in a day of 24 hours, we are walking about 30 minutes. Okay? Now, it's also amazing because it says that with 30 minutes of walking in an entire day, you can get everything done. You can get your cooking, your cleaning, your chores, your walking, everything done, right? Because everything is delivered home that we spoke about. But the average person walks about 3,000. You want to increase that. Okay? Why? Because your body needs activity for it to function normally. Blood circulation, posture, breathing, all of this is connected to walking. It's a very underrated, not exercise, activity. Okay? Also, for every 1,000 steps that you walk, it's about 10 minutes of walking, you burn anywhere from 25 to 50 calories, which is fairly significant, right? Depends on how fast you're walking, how much you weigh, all of that. So let's say, I don't know, 30 calories per 1,000. So if you're walking 10,000 steps in a day, you can burn about 300 to 500 calories just from the walking, outside of exercise. This is something that you have to make as a regular part of your day. How do you do it? This doesn't mean, so walking 10,000 steps, it's going to take me 1.5 hours. So I have to exercise for 1 hour, I have to walk for 1.5 hours. What are you saying, Raj? That's not what I mean. Walking is something that you should be doing through the day, whenever possible. When you don't have a reason to sit, you should be walking. Like for everyone listening and watching this, there's no reason they should be sitting and watching, right? You can walk and walk. Similarly, you're taking a phone call, you can walk, right? So as a general rule, as far as activity is concerned, this is what I say. Be greedy for activity. Someone has to take the dog for a walk. Who will? I will do it. Someone has to take the trash out. I will do it. Someone has to go to the grocery store. I will do it. Park your car further away from wherever you're going. Walk. If you can walk for 2 minutes, do it. If you can go for a 10-minute walk in the morning, maybe 5 minutes between meetings. You want to go to the restroom, go to the restroom that's far away. After lunch, walk for 10 minutes. In the evening, go for a 20-minute walk, right? Be a little obsessed with walking, right? Because right now, we are very unknowingly obsessed with sitting. Through the day, we keep sitting, right? So we have to break that. So activity is walking, and that is a base need. Even if you're someone who does not exercise, make sure you're walking as much as you can. Now, that doesn't mean you go from 3,000 steps to 10,000 steps overnight. Gradual, slow, right? You're doing 3,000, maybe go to 3,500 or 4,000. and then go to 4,500, then 5,000. In about 5-6 weeks, you will get to 10,000, and then make it a part of your life. That is the activity part. Outside of that, exercise. Now, exercise, a lot of people don't like exercise, and that's absolutely fine. You know why? Because discomfort. That's what exercise is. Right? It's not really comfortable. And when people say, I really enjoy exercise, they don't enjoy the discomfort. They enjoy the feeling of overcoming discomfort, okay? Of completing something, of doing something productive. When you finish an exercise, obviously you have all the hormones released, right? Endorphins out there, and you feel great. But you need to build a habit of exercise. And what is exercise? It changes for different people. It's different for every single person. If you're someone who does nothing, start by doing something. Okay? Even if you can do 10 minutes of just climbing stairs, that's exercise, sure. Right? What is your next step? What can you do? That is what you want to think about. If you're someone who's already been training for a while, then you build from there on. But as a general rule, you want to walk and exercise. Okay? How much of both you do will vary. But the ideal, the goal for the common person to get to is exercise 5 to 6 days a week. A lot of people are thinking, what are you talking about? 5 to 6 days a week is crazy. Okay? Again, simplify. When I say exercise, it does not have to be high in intensity. Do something. This is the 30 to 60 minutes for yourself. Do something, right? You can lift weights, you can climb stairs, you can play a sport, you can dance, you can go for a run, you can swim. There are a million options today, right? One amazing thing about all of this is that there's so much variety. So find something that you enjoy doing, but create that habit. If you have that habit, and this is what happens, right? We're talking about look, feel, and function, if you remember. When you exercise and you lose weight, you're motivated to go and do more exercise naturally. So, but if you exercise and you're not losing weight, the motivation drops. I get it. But if you can persist long enough, what you'll realize is when you exercise, you feel a certain way. It's not about calories. It's not about how you look. For me, I am just a better person on the days that I exercise. I am mentally sharper, right? I am more calm, all of that, right? So once you realize what you get out of exercise, it will be addictive. And I mean addictive in the best way possible. You should feel like if I don't exercise one day, I feel off, right? And for that, it need not be intense. It need not be long, but you have to build an exercise habit. So 5 to 6 days of exercise and anywhere from 6 to 15,000 steps of walking based on what you are able to do.
Okay.
And out of the 5 to 6 days of exercise, make sure there is at least 2 days of strength training. We're talking about protein. Now, the part that we're not talking about yet in India is muscle. Yeah? Muscle is a very taboo topic in the sense, right? Muscle bodybuilders, right? If women strengthen, they'll get bulky,
Yes.
right? All of that. But what you want to remember is muscle is just a necessary part of your body. Like if you don't have muscle, you'll just collapse and you'll just be on the floor. Even the fact that you're able to stand and walk is because you have muscles. And after the age of 30, we lose 3 to 5% of our muscle mass every decade. Women lose it a lot faster. Okay? So the only way to make sure you don't lose muscle, to combat that, to slow it down, is by regularly strength training because your body has a simple use it or lose it, formula. Right? So if you think about it more logically, let's say you're going on a hike. You have a bag with you, right? The bag is quite heavy and you're walking. And inside the bag, there are some books, there's food, there's water, there's a bunch of stones, and there is some shoes. Now, the bag is too heavy when you're walking, you have to remove something. What will you remove? You will remove the stones. Those are the useless things, right? You're not going to take the things that you use. Similarly, your body is going to, when it's trying to lose weight, it's going to lose the things that you're not using. So if you strength train, you will stimulate your muscles and you use them actively. So your body is going to make a conscious effort to not burn that. And that's the way to make it fat loss and not weight loss. The difference between weight loss and fat loss is you just lose somehow, right? If I chop off both your hands, it's still weight loss. Technically speaking, your weight has gone down. But in reality, what you want is you want to lose fat. You want to look, feel, and function better. And you look better when you have less fat and more muscle. You feel better when you have less fat and more muscle. You function better when you have less fat and more muscle, right? So make sure there is some form of strength training happening at least 2 days a week. So 2 to 3 days of strength work, 2 to 3 days of whatever else that you like to do, and then walking every day. That is your formula for energy out.
And coming to the role of gender and talking about, because there's this ongoing memes as well as it's very true, I think. I mean, my husband and myself, we are both at the same age. He's a year elder than me, but he can get away with a lot, which I cannot. And It may be metabolism for one thing, and it could be definitely connected to the gender, the age we are in right now, the perimenopause and menopause. So, do you think it plays a huge role in how women have to deal with this as compared to men?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and by gender, I presume you mean sex, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, gender, again, you can identify as whatever, but at the end of
Yes,
the day, we're
yes.
talking about
Yeah, I'm
chromosomes here,
talking about
right?
chromosomes.
Yeah. So, for a woman, it is absolutely much, much, much harder to lose weight and get fit compared to a man. Okay. Now, if you look at this in different time frames, if you look at, let's say, 3 days between a man and a woman, not too much difference. Right? I can create a deficit, you can create a deficit. It's the same. If you look at it as 3 months, there's some difference, right? Because you have 3 menstrual cycles in that time. You're retaining so much more water. Your hormones are changing. Your cravings are increasing. Your body weight goes up and down. All of that's happening, while for me, nothing's changing. It's 3 months, this month, last month, everything is the same. Now, if you look at this as 3 years, now you're going through 36 menstrual cycles. You will take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, 2 steps forward and 1 step back, right? For a man, it is simply about consistency. Okay? For women, it's a lot more than that because a lot changes. Now, if you expand this to 30 years and you're talking about, I don't know, you have 2 kids in that time. Now that's 2 years for each kid, right? Of pregnancy, delivery, getting back on track, all of that. It's so hard. Okay? And we only look at it from the outside, but internally, so much is happening.
Yes.
And something that a man never has to worry about is perimenopause and menopause. And this happens for a decade. And it could start as early as 35, but for most women, it starts around 40, 42, 43, somewhere there. Okay? And before you get to menopause, there are so many changes that your body is going through. And this is something that most people don't talk about. We have to acknowledge the fact that it is different for women. The efforts are the same, but the results are different. That is what is most annoying. It's not like you can change the effort and make the result be the same, right? So what you have to do and what I have to do are the same things. But it is much easier for me to, or at least it's less harder for me to do those things than it is for you. Or even expanding it more, it is less harder for me to do those things consistently for years and years than it is for you.
And the other thing I spoke about, my friend can get away with a lot. I mean, he can eat a packet, or let us keep it as a she so that we take out the gender difference there, so that he can eat quite a bit and not gain even a single kg of weight. Whereas my metabolism is slow. My body is made that way. So is that true?
It's true, but it's not false. Okay, but just because it's true doesn't mean you have to use it as a crutch. Okay, my body is made this way. You said that. You make your body. Okay, because there is genetics and then there is epigenetics. Two different things. Okay, genetics are what you're given. Epigenetics are how your genes express themselves. Right now, what is metabolism? Metabolism is basically the sum of all the chemical reactions that happen in your body. But for practical terms, metabolism is how many calories you burn. Okay. So when a basal metabolic rate, BMR, is essentially how many calories you burn in a day when you're doing absolutely nothing. Okay. So if you, let's say you burn 2000 calories in a day, you remove the exercise. That's going to be, say 300 calories. So you have 1700 calories. And the 1700 calories also, out of this, there's something called NEAT, non-exercise active thermogenesis, right? Where we're sitting right now, I'm moving my hands, legs, all of that. Let's say that burns another 200, 300 calories. So that's gone. So the other 1400 calories, I am burning just by being alive. Okay? Just for maintaining my body. My heart is beating, my lungs are working, blood is flowing. For all of that, you need energy. That is basal metabolic rate. Now, basal metabolic rate varies from person to person. Now, there are 3 factors that affect the basal metabolic rate. The first one is genetics, something that you have no control over, so forget that. The second thing is body size, basically how big you are, how much you weigh. A bigger organism will burn more calories, a smaller organism will burn lesser calories. Also, not necessarily under your control. The third thing, and the thing that's completely under your control, is how much muscle you have. The more muscle you have, the more your basal metabolic rate. Now, if you're talking about gender differences or sex differences, men in general have more muscle than women. Just that's just how it is, genetics here. So naturally, the basal metabolic rate of a man is higher than it is for a woman. But if you're looking at two people from the same sex, right, the difference in basal metabolic rate between the two people are purely related to body size and muscle mass. So if your metabolism is low, that means you don't have as much muscle, or said differently, the only way for you to improve your BMR is by building more muscle. Okay? And to build more muscle, you have to strength train, you have to eat enough protein, you have to sleep well, and you have to manage stress well. So you'll notice that in everything that we are talking, there are many questions, but the answer is the same thing. It comes back to the basics. Eat vegetables, protein, and starch in every meal. Don't overeat. Walk often. Exercise regularly. Sleep well, and manage your stress. These are the 6 things that you need to basically manage everything. You want to increase your basal metabolic rate? This. You want to reduce NCDs? This. You want to feel better? This. You want to look better? This. Yeah.
So get the basics right, build the foundation.
Yep.
And you have already covered genetics. So as I always say, yes, genes, the gun is loaded by your genes, but your lifestyle is what pulls the trigger. And role of traditional cultural beliefs, I think it's time to unlearn, to relearn, and to progress, because just because we have been doing certain things in the traditional manner and our ancestors ate like this and they stayed lean, I think you have covered quite in detail about how times have changed, but our genes have not, and we have to learn to evolve with the times, right?
Correct. Yeah. See, I think this evolution is very important, right? And it has to be mental and physical evolution. See, it is important to acknowledge and appreciate all the wisdom that has been passed down traditionally, okay, over generations, over hundreds of years. At the same time, it is important to accept what science is giving us today also. That's what the rational approach here is, not to pick a side. You don't have to pick a side. You don't have to be this person who says, oh, you know what, I will only eat like my ancestors. I will eat nothing that comes in a box. If it has a chemical that I don't understand, I won't eat it, right? You don't have to be that person. Similarly, you don't have to be this person who's like, oh, what did people from the past know? We have to go based on what it is now. The reality is, we have taken the information that has been passed on and we have built on it, we've understood it deeper, and we've evolved to create something else. So you need to find a way to take advantage and find the best of both worlds. Right? That's the only way to go about it. That is a smart way to go about it. Right? So if you think about it as protein supplements, bad, Sattamavu, good, right? That doesn't make sense. Right? So you have to understand what these two things contain. So you use the wisdom and use that wisdom to create something more wise.
So, the role of financial stability and actually spending money, because health is not expensive, fast food is much, much cheaper. So, do you think it plays a huge role in how people would approach fitness and health?
Definitely it does. It really does. Because I feel, see, today fitness is a privilege. Okay. And what I mean by that is, if most things in your life are good, then you start thinking about fitness. And this was, and you spoke about fast food being cheap and healthy food being expensive, right? But it was quite interesting because about 20, 25 years ago, when I went to the US first, right? I was in Newark initially, and Newark is not the best place to live in the US, okay? But you can see a lot of people on the road, and you will see that people who couldn't afford good food, people who were struggling, were actually much more overweight and much more diseased than people who could. Because fast food, you for a dollar meal, right? You would get a burger, fries, and a drink, very high in calories, very low in nutrients. But a salad would cost you $10. That is what is happening in India right now. Junk food, tasty food, quick food is available at a cheap price. But healthy food, slow food is quite expensive. Okay. So, and this needs to change. See, my personal goal here as far as fitness is concerned is to make it natural. We have to make it approachable. We have to make it accessible, and we have to make it affordable. And I mean every one of these three words, right? And I know it's all starts with A, so it sounds like, whatever. But in reality, what do I mean by making fitness approachable? Most people are afraid of fitness. They feel like a gym is not where I belong. Right? I can't go there, right? It's not my thing. It's like, see, I don't dance. So when I see a dance studio, I immediately feel like, oh my God, that's not me. That's how people feel about gyms, right? So we have to make fitness more approachable. It should feel like anyone can do this. You can start wherever. The second one is making fitness accessible. Fitness in general was not accessible for a very long time. Only good coaches can teach you how to do this. Today, thanks to social media and the internet and all of that, it is very accessible. So people are demanding for more and more, which is great. Third thing is, you have to absolutely make it affordable. Because if it's not affordable, it's not going to be sustainable. And an egg. You can get an egg for 3 rupees. You can get one egg for 50 rupees also. It's there. Both are there.
It's there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Free range, all of
Okay,
that, right? I
okay.
mean, you get.
Yeah.
So it's up to you where you get it from. But at the end of the day, fitness programs, supplements, equipment, all of this has to become more affordable. There will always be levels, don't get me wrong. For instance, a smartphone is a great example, right? The way a smartphone has penetrated the market. And everyone has a smartphone today. Someone's phone is 1.5 lakhs, someone's phone is 5,000 bucks, but it's still a smartphone. Okay. And as far as fitness is concerned, over a period of time, it has to go through a desexification process. Okay. And what I mean by that, pizza is a good example here. When pizza first came to India, pizza was sexy. Only the cool kids would have pizza. In fact, if you remember this whole Pizza Hut and all that, they had glass walls because people from outside can see you eating pizza inside. Right? It was expensive, it was cool. Today you get pizza at Sangeeta. You get pizza everywhere. Okay. You still have $1,000 pizza, but pizza has basically penetrated the market enough. It has become approachable, accessible, and affordable. So everyone is able to indulge or partake in pizza. Similarly, fitness has to grow, not just vertically. Right now, a lot of fitness products, programs, food, whatever it is created either for the rich or for the fit. Okay? Meaning, say a smartwatch is 50,000 rupees. How many people can afford to pay 50,000 bucks for a smartwatch? There's a 2,000 bucks smartwatch, but it doesn't work. Okay? But you still buy it. So the problem is that. So we need to start growing more horizontally also. We have to spread out also. So high quality solutions have to be provided at affordable prices. And this is not, it's not a government thing. This is about the market, right? People have to be able to accept these things. And more people have to create these things. Slow burn method, for example, the cost of slow burn method is about 1,500 bucks to 2,000 bucks a month. Why is it that? And why did I even create this? Now, if you think about weight loss and one-on-one consultations, they will cost you at least 10,000 bucks a month. It could cost you anywhere from 5,000 to
More
1 lakh.
probably, yes.
Right? Depends on who you're working with. In fact, if you want to work with me one-on-one, it will be expensive because I have limited time in a day. If I have to work with you one-on-one, I have to get on a call with you once a week, talk to you about, everything that you've been through. How many people can I do that? I can work with 20 people, 30 people, 40 people. That's it, right? But if you want to work with a lot of people, you have to make it affordable one way or the other, right? So the goal with slow burn method is to somehow make this affordable, but high quality information. There's a difference between creating a mass product and creating something classy for the masses. Okay, Netflix is a great example. Right? Netflix when is very cheap. Yeah, like everyone has Netflix. I'm sure you have Netflix. You probably don't use it every day, but you have it. It's a cheap product. But when you log into Netflix, when you turn it on, the sound and everything, it is a classy experience. It's a great experience. Okay? So fitness has to become that. Today, if you pay a low amount of money for fitness, you get bad quality service and product. That has to change, right? So the base level that we're talking about has to be pushed up a lot more. And it's going to be an ongoing effort. There are companies like Cult and so many other companies which are trying to do that. But in the long term, that's what we need to make. We have to make it more affordable.
Affordable for the majority of people.
Yes.
And not only for a certain niche.
Absolutely.
True. And I'm sure you will be working on that too.
Yes.
And are already working in that space already.
Yes.
Yes. So now, last but not the least, coming to this cause, role of motivation and willpower. New Year resolutions, New Year is almost upon us. Almost always do not last beyond a couple of weeks or a couple of months at the most. Why are they almost always destined to fail?
See, it's not about destined to fail. When you talk about motivation, right? There are people. There are two camps here. There's one camp which says, motivation. You have to be motivated every day. And then there's another camp that says, motivation is useless. You should not be depending on motivation. But my general stance is right in between the two. Okay? See, when you think about someone who's motivated, or in fact, when you think about someone who's not motivated, they look at someone who's very fit and they think that this person is motivated every day. No one is motivated every day. Not even the greatest athlete that you've ever seen. Okay? So motivation is short-lived. That's just how it is. Simply because of life and emotions. Some days you're motivated, some days you're not. Monday morning you're motivated, Friday evening you're not. In fact, morning you're motivated, night you're not. Right? Beginning of the year you're motivated, end of the year you're not. Right? So when you think about motivation, it is short-lived. But here's what you want to remember. You don't want to rely only on motivation as a tool. I would recommend three tools: motivation, discipline, and habits. Okay? And let me explain how this works. Now, you said New Year, so let's use that as an example. The start of the year, everyone is motivated. Okay? And it's good. You use that motivation. Motivation is what gets you started. If you're not motivated, you're not going to do anything. This applies for career, life, whatever it is, right? So, beginning of the year, you're motivated. Use that motivation and start doing whatever you have to do. But you have to know very well that it's not going to last for more than a few weeks. Life will take over. But when motivation wanes, you have to rely on discipline. Discipline is when you do things even when you don't want to do them. It's not easy, but you're going to have to do it. So let's say you're motivated for the first 3 weeks and then motivation wanes. At that point, you're going to have to bite the bullet and you're going to say, I'm going to be disciplined, not forever, for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Okay? 3 weeks of motivation and then the next 3 weeks of discipline. You know what these 6 weeks will do? They will build habits. Once you've built a habit, you don't need discipline, you don't need motivation. So the goal is to build a habit. You use motivation along the way. Let me give you an example. Brushing your teeth. We all brush our teeth. Is anyone motivated to brush their teeth? Are they just saying, you know what, I can't wait to wake up tomorrow morning and brush my teeth? No, you don't. You just do it. In fact, when you first started, you resisted it as a kid. Your parents made you do it. But then you've done it so many times now, it's such a habit. Initially, you said you do it because if you don't do it, dental health, your mouth will stink all. Today, if you don't brush your teeth, you feel weird. It has become such a habit. And you don't need motivation ever to brush your teeth. It's the same thing with exercise, the same thing with eating protein, same thing with eating vegetables, right? So we spoke about protein, vegetables, and starch. In the beginning of the year, you're motivated, do it. After 2 weeks, you're not going to feel like eating it, but bite the bullet, 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks, do it. But once you build a habit, not doing it will feel off. So use motivation along the way to build habits.
Yes, that's very nice. So I really wish that exercise gets to the point where it becomes a habit, like it's just like brushing your teeth. You don't have to think too much about it.
Yeah. And I think that's the key, right? You eventually want to get to a point where, let's say you're someone who works out in the morning. First thing in the morning, you should exercise. Before you go to bed, you should be thinking about what am I doing tomorrow. If you're not someone who can do it by yourself, join, work with a coach or join a place like the Quad where you're essentially outsourcing the thinking. So all you have to do is to just show up. Wake up, show up. Because there is never going to be a scenario where you finish your workout and feel like, you know what, I should have not made it.
Definitely.
You're
It's
always
only
going to
at the
feel great.
beginning, yes, true. Just show up. That could be a tagline.
It is.
Just- okay. So coming to the next part of it, I think we have dealt with the causes quite a bit, and thank you for that. What do we do about it? Can you help us create a blueprint for fitness, for life? We have been talking about sustainability, not fast track and short term. Where do we start? What are the pillars to focus on? And if you had to prioritize these pillars like a pyramid starting from the foundation, what would you build upon in order of importance? Though all of them are important in their own way. And how would you have us take actionable steps in each pillar of this blueprint?
Okay. See, just to summarize the whole thing, right? In order to improve your health, fitness, body weight, all of that, you have to do 6 things. You need to eat less. You need to eat well. You need to move often, activity. You need to exercise regularly. You have to sleep well, and you have to manage stress. These are the 6 things. These are the pillars. Now, how each person does it will vary, and the specifics will vary. But at the end of the day, this is what you need to do. Okay? All the causes that we spoke about are because we are eating too much. We're not eating good quality food. We're not moving enough. We're not exercising regularly. We're not sleeping well, and we're not managing stress. That's it. So, you know the causes. The treatment is basically the opposite. The antidote is just the other way. Right? Now, all of this, again, this is the what. How do you do it? Now, this will change for each person, but you should take help if you need help. There is a small percentage of the population who can do it by themselves. And with slow burn method or the Quad also, right? I'm happy to just tell you everything. In fact, at the end of the slow burn method, at the end of the program, you'll notice that we'll give you something called a care package. This care package will have everything that was given to you during the program. The plan, the link to every single webinar, every guide, every Q&A session, everything is put in a PDF and just given to you conveniently. If you can do it by yourself, please do it. But most people, 9 out of 10 people, are not able to do it by themselves. So you need a community, you need a coach, you need a structure, you need things to help you do it. So now that you know what to do, the next question is, how do I do it? So sit down and think, can I eat less by myself? Can I eat well by myself? Do I understand enough to do that? If you feel that, you know what, I don't have the time or money to do it, don't overthink it. Join a program, work with someone. And this is funny if you think about it, right? Asking for help is actually such an amazing thing. But we hesitate so much. Yeah? We invest in so many things. For instance, if you're not able to learn a language, you go and find a teacher. You're not able to learn how to sing, you go and find a teacher. Fitness is no different. You're finding a community and a teacher who can enable you to do more. So the blueprint is simple. The execution is hard. At the end of the day, you're the one who has to execute it. But like I said, you need motivation, you need discipline, you need to build habits. So the motivation is there for a little bit, but you need a structure to channel that motivation. Right? This is where programs come in, this is where coaches come in, this is where nutrition coaches come in. So if you can do it by yourself, if you can take control, that's great. If you can't, see where you need help. Now, some people feel like, you know what, nutrition I can manage. I think I can do all this. Exercise, I have no idea. So you should join something like the Quad, okay, where you have coaches who don't just care about, you know, getting you in and just plastering you to the floor, who truly care about you, you know, and your well-being. If you feel that exercise is good, you know, I play 3-4 days a week, I go for a run now and then, but nutrition, I have no idea. Then you should work with someone on the nutrition side. Or if you're someone who's like, you know what, I get it, like you said, right? I want to optimize this and put it all together. You want to find a program that focuses on mindset and lifestyle so you can put 2 and 2 together. Because I guarantee you, your intentions are great. You want to do the right thing. You start by doing the right thing, but life happens. We all have things that happen in life, right? Because think about it, you're saying 2026 is the year. Or 2026 has 52 weekends, has at least 100 birthdays. Someone is going to be born, someone is going to die, right? There's going to be work stress, there's going to be travel, there's going to be all of it. How are you going to navigate through all of this? Get help.
So that's the advice for new you this new year. Just because the new year is coming, but I always believe you can start any time and
Yep.
every time. Every day is a new day. Going on to the rapid fire. One thing you wish everyone understood about fitness.
Consistency over intensity.
Is weight loss 80% diet and 20% exercise, or is that a myth?
It is true. I mean, nutrition is the primary tool for weight loss. Exercise is an enabler, a secondary tool.
Do crash diets really work?
They work in the short term. They help you crash, but in the long term, they do not rebuild you. No.
Will intermittent fasting suit everyone?
I mean, everyone no, but it does help most people. Yes, it can be accommodated.
The best exercise according to you is
Saying no to junk food and food that you shouldn't be eating.
okay. A supplement or add-on worth buying?
Protein supplements or fiber supplements based on what you need.
A supplement many tend to waste money on.
Whoa, that's a big list.
Okay.
I mean, there's too many, so let's not go there.
Are six packs attainable for the common man?
It is attainable, but is it necessary? That's the question. It's not.
Are protein powders dangerous?
They're not.
3 things to track progress other than just the number on the weighing scale.
You can do a DEXA scan to check your body fat percentage and your bone mineral density. That's definitely one. You should be tracking your sleep. In other words, just understanding how well you're sleeping. I don't mean like using a smartwatch, but prioritizing your sleep. And the third thing would be getting your health markers checked every 6 months.
Is it possible to just lose belly fat?
Your body loses fat in sheets. So you can't target where you want to lose fat, but eventually you can lose the belly fat.
Pot reduction is not really going to work.
Correct.
Should we necessarily sweat after a workout just to see faster results? If you don't sweat, you're not doing the enough work.
No, that's not true at all.
So it's just comfort and what you're used to and what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, slightly longer answer. I mean, your effectiveness of the workout depends on many things. For instance, if you're doing strength training, you're not expected to sweat profusely. But if you're doing endurance work, yes, you will sweat. Also depends on if you're in Chennai, even if you're not doing any work, you're going to sweat, right? So it depends on where you are. So sweat is definitely not the primary indicator of how effective your workout has been.
Is there a way to burn calories even just when sitting and at rest?
Yes, you are burning calories even when you're at rest. Is there a way to burn more calories when you're at rest? Yes, by building more muscle.
Your oldest client,
I want to say 75, 77.
and do you think age is a limiting factor to start exercise or strength training?
No, absolutely not.
Commonest reason you have heard given for weight gain over the years?
It's a hard question. But the most common reason is I don't know how, but I gained weight.
They don't know is the reality.
Yes, because like I feel like I'm not overeating too much. I don't feel like I'm eating too much junk food, but I'm somehow gaining weight. I don't know how it's
It
happening.
has happened.
Yeah.
What helps the most with staying consistent, in your opinion?
Mindset.
Mindset.
Having a long-term mindset, understanding that you're not trying to do something for the next 2 months or 3 months. You're going to do this for the rest of your life, right? Mindset.
So, diet and exercises are never for the short term. It's something you do lifelong, is what people should understand and start doing.
Yes. Because once you start thinking long-term, lifelong, then you realize you have a lot of time. And there's no pressure.
A supplement you think many people waste money on?
There are a lot, but probiotics are the thing now.
So you can't just go eat whatever you want and go drink something and have your gut bacteria. Thank you.
No, we can't do that. No.
We come to the end of the rapid fire. So before we wind up, any final words to listeners as we get ready to ring in 2026?
Focus on consistency. Be very, very patient. There's absolutely no rush here. And really, really back yourself because you are doing most things right. You just have to remember to try and do things a little better.
Thank you and wish you a happy new year in advance.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Had a great time talking to you.
So thank you, Raj, for reminding us that everyone can start right where they are with what they have. This new year, don't promise to become a new you. Instead, honor the you that already exists within you and choose to make her or him stronger, healthier, and happier. Fitness isn't about perfection, it's about presence, showing up for yourself even on the messy days or days you do not want to. It's about small habits that become big shifts. It's about building a body that supports your dreams and not your insecurities. And to everyone listening, here's to project better you today, tomorrow, and every day. Start small, stay steady, and watch your life transform in ways the scale can never measure. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and as always, let's keep the conversation going. Thank you.